Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm so happy to have you. So my pre-distant subscribers, welcome back to the channel. So for today's video in particular, we're going to be talking about and discussing Stephen Miller. If you want to watch my other Stephen Miller video, I will put them in the description and also in the comment section below. And at the end of today's video, if you want to go ahead and check out some other videos related to the content. But this was a subscriber submitted question, so thank you for the person who submitted it. Unfortunately, my phone is not accessible at this time, so I cannot find what your username is. But anyway, thank you for your time and your submission. This video is just for entertainment, for educational purposes only as well. If you want to help out the channel grow, you can do so by liking, commenting, subscribing, hitting the bell icon, engaging with the content. Sharing this video with others really helps boost the algorithm here on this YouTube channel. Alright, so this video is being recorded on Wednesday, October 1st at 1:18 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Alright, I hate long intros, so do you. Let's just get on with this. Alright. Now, as you all know, I spoke recently about hunting Stephen Miller. That was in one of my most recent videos where the topic was dedicated to him. But in this video, we're going to find out a little bit more about them, about who he is and what he plans to do. So Spiritual Angels tell me, who is Stephen Miller? Who is Stephen Miller? Now, must I remind you, he is a Nazi, to keep that in mind. Who is Stephen Miller? In order for us to really understand what we're talking about in today's video, we need to know who Stephen Miller is. How does the card describe this man? Okay, the bottom of the deck here, we have the King of Cups. Okay, this is a man who uses his ideology to cause chaos. Right, that's what he is. The top of the deck, we have Temperance. It's that false illusionment of balance, feeling imbalanced, but knowing that things are just right. The Temperance card is telling us that when it comes to Stephen Miller, he feels as if he's creating a symbol of balance, but not realizing that the world is already balanced, the world is already in harmony. But by what he does and what he do, he causes imbalance and chaos, right? And that also, again, further enhances his notion that he needs to push more extreme. So he's the type of guy who does something, sees the effect of his outcome, and then puts it to the extreme because he's trying to create that equilibrium, not realizing that he himself is the problem. The card that comes up that represents him is the Three of Cups. This is somebody of shared ideology. So he is somebody who hangs out with those who are just like him. He surrounds himself, he immerses himself with those who are like him. He's not exposed to opposition. He's not exposed to outside thoughts or outside perspective. He's only exposed to what he allows himself to expose to. So the card that comes in as well is we have the Hermit card. And the Hermit card is this period of darkness. He was surrounded by darkness and he uses this darkness to enhance his perspective. He uses trauma not as a tool to put himself down, but as a tool to rectify the world around him. He sees problems because of what he went through internally. So maybe he just indicated that he has some childhood problems. We don't really know what Stephen Miller really went through. We don't really know what his life was really like. But what I can tell you is that he uses his own personal experience to justify his actions outward to the public. But the card that comes in as well is we have the Seven of Cups reversed. This is somebody who was very early on fixated on an ideology, on a goal, on a perspective, which means that he was dreaming about this, he was manifesting this, he was already creating a plan. So this is somebody who doesn't come in out of the blue and just starts guessing. This is somebody who had a very early onset of who they were and were very certain on that perspective, which tells me that they were exposed to this type of rhetoric, exposed to this type of ideology very early on, and they embraced that ideology because it brought them a sense of self or a sense of understanding. And that could also, again, be his weakness too, because he's a guy who doesn't really know who is Stephen Miller. He's a guy who's been told an ideology and he rallies around that ideology with his identity and he holds on to that. And when you take that ideology away, not only do you take the ideology, you also take in his identity. And for that, he's seized as a threat. And underneath the Three of Cups here, surrounding yourself with those who are just like you. And here you have underneath it, it's the Queen of Cups. Containment, watching very closely. Which means that he's a guy who isn't like the mom figure of a friend group. He's more like that guy who's a watchdog. He's a hawk. He makes sure everybody's in alignment, everybody's always in agreement, everybody's always doing what he wants him to do. Like, he is the puppet master. Everybody around him is the one who has to abide by those rules, to abide by those demands. He makes sure everybody's following. Even anybody who leads astray, anybody who becomes open to other ideology, even open to other perspective, he makes sure he reins them back in. And the next card that comes in on the right section here, we have the Two of Cups, his servitude to humanity. He feels like he has been a gift. And this is, again, this is not saying this is in reality. This is not saying that, he's a gift from God and that, he's doing the right thing. No, this is not what it's saying. It's saying this is what he believes. The Two of Cups is saying that he believes that his job in his lifetime is to be a servitude to the people. But again, he's a guy who controls to make sure people are in alignment with what he wants. Not open to other ideology, not open to other perspective. And this Two of Cups is simply saying that he believed that he was the chosen one, or that he was picked and selected for this specific time to serve humanity in his likeness. That's not really serving humanity if you're serving it in a way that is to your preference. Serving humanity doesn't always require you to like what you're doing or to agree with what you're doing, but to know that you're doing it for the highest good. He's not doing it for the highest good. He's doing it for own personal gain, clothing it as something more than that, something less than that, excuse me. The card that comes also is the Eight of Cups. And the Eight of Cups is saying not willingness to walk away. He knows when people need to leave, when people who are of no service need to leave him. But he will leave Donald Trump eventually when he feels like Donald Trump is no longer on his side or is no longer here physically with us. But again, he feels like as long as Donald Trump is following what he wants and what he says and what he goes, he will stand by Donald Trump no matter what. Until when Donald Trump starts to disobey him on a more regular basis, where the Queen of Cups can no longer contain that, then he sees the president as going rogue, and he could in some way act very aggressive. So this is the Seven of Wands. Again, this is not meant to hurt anybody. Again, this video is just for entertainment, educational purposes only as well. But he appears to be somebody who loses their crap or loses their temper very quickly and tends to throw things. Pretty much like what Donald Trump does when he's really angry when he lost the election in 2020. The Seven of Wands, who is indicating a similar behavior, was manifested by Stephen Miller, because Stephen Miller actually takes on some of those characteristics. And I do feel like he's very aggressive. So if you are a wife or you are the child of Stephen Miller, you're more likely to find yourself in a situation that is of domestic violence, or even better yet, domestic abuse. So this is what it feels like in terms of who Stephen Miller is, what his goals are, what his ambitions are, and who Stephen Miller is at the very core. Again, we cannot confirm any of this information because obviously we don't know who Stephen Miller is personally, but energetically, this is what I got. Okay, we're going to find out what is Stephen Miller's plan for the United States. I probably need a good refresher. So, Spiritual Angel, tell me, what is Stephen Miller's plan for the United States? What is Stephen Miller's plan for the United States? What is Stephen Miller's plan for the United States of America? Okay, the first thing I'm hearing is to put it in a place where it does not belong. The bottom of the deck is the Queen of Cups. This is the puppet. This is the politician. This is him. He's the one who's telling them what to do. He's the puppet master. You know, for a while, a lot of people thought Trump was being puppeteered. Even I have thought, and even the scholars have studied, that Trump is also being puppeteered by Putin. But now it has appeared that that's not always the case anymore. It seems like during the Donald Trump's first term, he was being puppeteered by Vladimir Putin in Russia. But in this term, it seems like he's being puppeteered by something else. Because he felt like at some point, Donald Trump during the first term was being puppeteered by Russia and the dictatorship. That was the training part. But now that Donald Trump is in his second term, it feels very much like as if he's being puppeteered by Stephen Miller. And the first word that come to me is fascist, which means that Donald Trump has moved away from the ideology or authoritarianism of Vladimir Putin, Russia, and has moved more towards the authoritarian wing of the fascist extremists. That's what it feels like. It feels like Stephen Miller, he played a role, but he didn't play a major role back in around Donald Trump's first term. However, he plays a major role in this term. All right. And here you have is the Wheel of Fortune. So there's a lot of major economy here. That's a bit concerning for what Stephen Miller planned to do for the United States. The first card that comes in is Leo. The Leo card tells me the first thing I heard when I first put this card down was to put the United States in a place where it does not belong. A Black Panther is an animal who belongs in a jungle. But you see any jungle around it? No, you just see mountain ranges. This is out of place, something that is out of the ordinary in the wrong place, but at the wrong time. Well, what is happening to the United States? You're going to plunge the United States into a place or a period where it does not belong where it is, but it's at the wrong place at the wrong time and something can happen. The next card that comes in, though, is also the Magician card. The Magician. Now, you also notice the American flag is upside down. It's in a state of anarchy. And you can kind of see this already. You can kind of see he is the techneer. He is the engineer. He is the guy who comes up with these ideas. He's the creator. He's the brains. He's the magician. He's the one who works the magic, which makes a lot of sense. Because remember, the bottom deck showed him telling the politician what to say, what to do, moving them like playing chess. The next card is we have Judgment. The Judgment is the election. What is his plan for the United States is to either rig the outcome of the elections or better yet to end elections in its entirety. Now this is a guy who again championed a certain ideology and made sure that those who have agreed with him at some point are in alignment with him. Right? So the Judgment card again is telling us that he is going to ensure that they remain in power by any means necessary, because to him this one is personal. This is not one that is, meant to push the ideology, but remember this is personal because he wrapped his identity so closely tight around his ideology, he cannot discern the difference between the two. So when one threatens the ideology, it threatens his sense of self, his sense of purpose, his sense of identity. Because the next card that comes in is the Faith, this cult-like apparatus. He plans to use the military, and I do feel like he is going to fantasize about the military, although he has this puppet, which is Trump here, bringing the faith and using faith and religion as a justification for certain actions. He's also going to use the military, but I'm also seeing as well, not only is the red indicating the cult, it's also indicating the Handmaid's Tale. So if anything, this is a guy who watches TV or movies and gets ideas. He gets excited about these ideas. He feels invigorated. He feels powerful. It feels like these movies are speaking to him. They're giving him ideas. Although movies are meant to be of entertainment, to inform, they can also inspire even the darkest of the corners of the earth. And this is what the Faith card is saying. It's saying that a lot of Stephen Miller's ideology and his beliefs and his actions and policy also coincide with the movies that he watches. Movies can inspire people to do bad things. Even though they can also inspire people to do good things, just as they are doing good, they can also inspire the wrong crowd. Like, for example, we have all these killer movies now. And I said this for a very long time, back in 2020, and I said there was going to be a rise of somebody dressing up as a Halloween serial killer, and they were going to go and kill people around Halloween, and they were going to get away with it because, well, first of all, everybody dressed up as a Halloween character, so it can be, first of all, very easy to disguise yourself and get away, but also they feel and embody the character on the movie. They really fantasize about that, so they're going to go ahead and do that. Things come to life from in animation to animated in physical reality. And so what does this mean? It means that Stephen Miller takes things that happen in movies and brings them into our reality, like The Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale was based off of some sort of truth rooted in our reality, based off of what we have experienced as a collective, as a humanity, but you're going to take that as a blueprint for what's to come. So again, when you ask about whether or not Handmaid's Tale is predicting the future, no, it's not predicting the future. It's given a clear blueprint for those who are messed up in the head to use that blueprint to bring it into reality. For example, the Hunger Games, right? Or even better yet, the Purge. These are things that inspire the darkest of the mind. And so this is a guy who, again, grew up watching these things, being told these things, right? It doesn't mean that the people around him were telling him that. Maybe sometimes it's the TV, it's the movies that can inspire killers on how new ways to kill, right? The next card is we have the Earth card in reverse. He planned to bring down Earth and its collective hierarchical structure. But he's not somebody who is going to just leave it as is. He's not going to take that triangle of like the president, the Senate, the House, and the people, the American people, the triangle. He's not going to do that. He's not going to destroy this and replace that. He's not going to destroy and not replace it. He's going to destroy the hierarchical system and replace it with a new beneficial system that he feels is beneficial, and it's going to replace the hierarchical system. But he's not going to be somebody who, again, tries to destroy everything and not build it in his image. He's going to be somebody who destroys everything in the United States in terms of what he doesn't approve of and build it back up in his image. So the infrastructure is going to be there, but it's not going to be the original infrastructure. And how do I know this? We have bees. And bees, as you all know, are workers. They are hard workers. They work in a collective. They work in a hive. Right? Their job is to protect the queen. The reason why this is reversed is that he had no loyalty to anybody. Let's just say, like we said earlier in the video, that if Donald Trump goes against him, he had no loyalty. He's completely fine walking away with Donald Trump, whether he dies or whether he is so actively alive. Because remember, he's the guy who represents the Queen of Cups. He washes and contains and makes sure everybody follows what he wants, right? The Earth card being reversed tells us that he's going to reform the hierarchical structure, even at the top, which is the president, the puppet. The card that comes in, as well as the Ace of Cups, he is still cooking. We haven't quite exactly opened up what Stephen Miller's plan is for the nation. It's being cooked. It's underway. The energy's there. The movement is there. It hasn't quite popped out. It hasn't yet exploded into our physical reality where we can recognize it, where we can see it on our daily lives. We have here as well as the two cards that, not only challenges the Magician, the Judgment card, which is the election card, and Fate, which is the cult-like apparatus, and using movies and TV shows to inspire a new form of ideas. We have the Chariot card. The Chariot card moves fast moving. It's a progressive. His idea is to declare Democrats as those who are of opposition, who are against that identity, against that ideology. What he's doing is he essentially created his problem where he's forcing the American people, but especially those who embrace Donald Trump's MAGA type wing, to embrace their ideology and wrap their ideology around their identity to the point where if somebody attack that ideology, they feel like it's an attack on who they are and their identity. He wants them to be so closely knit. So, for example, if they admit that they're a Nazi, those people who identify themselves as that ideology cannot come to terms with that they are a Nazi, but their identity is wrapped around it, therefore they are a Nazi. Does that make sense? I hope it does. But the Magician card and the Judgment card reversed, we have the Chariot. The Democrats really need to propel. But here you have it, this dark cloud coming. And you want to know what you guys notice that you probably don't notice yet? Who is the one leading the Democratic Party right now? Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard, right? But Tulsi Gabbard, as you all know, was a Democrat who switched to the Republican Party and currently works for the Trump administration. but also is a Russian asset, or better yet, an asset for the opposition party. So what does this mean? The Democratic Party needs to lead to victory, but it cannot do so with its current leaders in power because they are complicit with those who are misguiding them, because the person who's guiding them is the one who's complicit and is actively working against the party that they're in and is working with the opposition party. So what does this mean? It means the Democratic Party, the regular Democrats like Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, they're completely fine. They're hoping that the Democratic leader, DNC, the Speaker of the House, the Senate minority leader, is leading the Democratic Party toward victory. But the chariot card is saying that's not the case. They're saying that these people, not only just Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, are leading the Democratic Party in the wrong direction and actually working with the opposition party. The chariot card means that the Democrats need to find a new pathway forward around them, to go above and around that system that is leading the Democratic Party, because they're going to lead them straight to the clouds. They're very bad with direction. They're going to lead them straight into the clouds. They're going to lead them straight over that bridge. The Democratic Party needs to lead. And that is exactly why Stephen Miller comes in with the election. He's hoping, and he's putting his fingers in the Democratic Party, trying to sway to the point where it loses the midterms. It loses the 2028 election. Again, he's the magician, he's the puppeteer, and he's actively involving himself into the Democratic Party. If, just say, for example, the Republican Party, which has already happened, we're already aware of that situation, has been infiltrated by this ideology, who would just say the Democrats are not immune to this? Why do you think that they're going up against those who clearly can win for the party, like the Democratic Socialist Dora Mamadami, or better yet, AOC, or some of these progressive type candidates, and the Democratic Party are rejecting them. They're rejecting them not only because they're old dog and what's called, they represent the old traditional wing, they also represent something very drastically different. They represent the system, the tradition, but also the corruption of the past. And when things come to corrupting, when things come to desperation to stop these new progressive ideals, they're going to be desperate enough to work with the opposition party to keep those who new ideology, new blood out. And that also propelled the opposition. It gives Stephen Miller the opportunity to put his hand inside the Democratic Party. Because we saw it with a whole bunch of people. We saw Joe Manchin, not a real true Democrat. Or John Fetterman, not a true Democrat. Kristen Sinema, not a true Democrat. So we have those Democrats here who say that they're Democrat in name, but do everything against the Democratic Party. And that comes in as well. It says here that he is actually involved in this in some way. The Democratic Party as a whole is against this, but there are certain select few who are leading the party towards the mousetrap, essentially. Think about, he is the guy who set the trap, and there are certain factors, certain leaders within the Democratic Party who are leading it directly to his death. And here you have the Judgment card in the faith, and here you have the Wheel of Fortune. The Democrats are playing cards. Here you have the Democrats playing here, but they're showing you the cards in the back as well. But you don't really know where they lie, right? There are two different types of Democrats. There are the Democrats who are supportive and who want to help the American people, and there are some who just don't care. It's two facade, two faces. Well, you have the Republican Party taking all this money from the country and spilling it out on a river. And it's all being done and being supported by the monopoly, by the billionaires of the United States. And this is where we're at right now. This is where we're at. So what is happening to the United States? Essentially everything I just said. Is there anything else, Spirit? Nope, they said I hit it right on the nail. I hope this was able to answer your question. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys do think of today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I'll see you guys all next soon. And for those of you guys who actually commented me to go ahead and review some of your dreams or do a dream interpretation video, I provided my email in the description below if you want to go ahead and contact me so that we can plan a date to try to figure out how we can be able to record the video and also have your interaction, be a part of it in some capacity, so that if I find any information, we can try to connect the dots before we post it publicly to everybody else to watch. All right, guys, thank you for watching. I love you. Have a great, great night, and peace out. Thank you for watching.